Hope you guys had a great Wednesday. Let's go ahead and jump into this Thursday pre-market brief. We have a lot to go through today. Great earnings from one of the penny stocks that I picked up a couple years ago, I believe in 2024. It is a packed day, but let's go ahead and take a look at the crypto markets. We see that they are pushing green, which is solid. We're going to take a look at the averages and how they ended the day yesterday. We have the NASDAQ ended the day a bit negative at negative 0.16%. The S&P ended the day at negative 0%, breaking even exactly. And the Dow Jones ended the day at negative 0.13%. More than likely, the markets are in some ways waiting for the release of CPI inflation data coming tomorrow. But we do also have jobless claims dropping today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the global markets and see where they sit on the day. We got the Kospi Korean market sitting at plus 3.13. If you guys are not invested in EWY, that's the ETF for Korean markets, get into it. It's been like 4 or 5 days that the Korean markets have just been surging constantly. It's crazy. The Nikkei is at negative 0.02, which Japanese markets typically mirror American markets, but they broke even. And then Taiwan at plus 1.61. Taiwan also has ETF. EWT is the ETF for Taiwan markets. Get invested globally. Take advantage of some of these wins these other countries are getting. European markets right now, as of 4:59 in the morning, the stock 6 is up plus 0.46% on the day. The CAC French markets are up at plus 0.85%, and the DAX German markets are up at plus 1.23% on the day. So it looks like it's going to be a solid day, but we're going to see going forward after jobless claims and things along those lines. As far as the pre-market right now, as far as our portfolio, it is big green. And if you see this at the top, this is Porch Group. This is a stock that we're going to be talking about later on in this video, but it was a penny stock when I first got interested in it. It did drop heavily in price, which we're going to discuss once we get to that portion of the video and why that happened and how it affected the company's profitability. But surging off of a beat on earnings, a beat on revenue yesterday in the aftermarket hours, up 21.87% right now. What are we going to do today? Crazy. SanDisk also up. I did increase my position in SanDisk, the memory hardware company, earlier this week. So I'm already profiting on that about 15-20% because of that reinvestment or that averaging down in the stock when the market was pulling back. So solid move there. But yeah, memory hardware companies are up there at the top, and the pre-market is looking pretty green. You know how it may switch, so this may change depending on what time you see this video. So don't take this as bond. But let's go ahead and do the S&P chart analysis so that we can knock that out first off, and then go into the details of today's checklist. So the S&P, we are looking at a 30-minute time schedule. We did hit that bounce that we liked, that we wanted. We got this bounce on this upper or this new floor that was created, which is nice. Now, what we would like to see over the rest of intraday trading today is for this to bounce again and then head even higher. And this is okay. We don't want it to be an exponential increase and just breaking through dramatically. We want it to be a steady stair step up through these boundaries to create different floors, new floors, so that we have a solid path to the upside in this market, not just getting there and then dropping way back down because of all the volatility. But the market is looking solid right now. Looks like it should be a okay day. We'll see. I think we should be pressing up depending on the pre-market and how it turns out by the 9 o'clock hour. We do have a couple dividends paying out today. If you don't understand what dividends are, they are free checks. You know how you used to play Monopoly and you get that dividend check for $50? Well, depending on what company you're invested in, they pay out dividends either monthly, annually, semi-annually. And if you have a portfolio of companies, you may get a check, 4 or 5 different checks every month, depending on how much you are invested in them. So build your income. and also build your net worth through the capital gains. But dividends dropping today. We have CSQ. These are the tickers: CSQ, OXLC. I believe those are investment firms that invest in other companies. We have Duke Energy dropping its dividend today. So if you're invested in Duke Energy, you're getting another check this month, which is nice. It could be a discount on your bill if you were invested in them. Truist, the bank, which we discussed yesterday, we discussed both of them yesterday. They're dropping their dividend today. We have a couple Yield Max stocks dropping their dividend, and then TJ Maxx, a solid recession-proof stock that I highly recommend you take a look at. But they are dropping their dividend today. Other than that, we have economic data coming today, jobless claims, and CPI inflation will come out tomorrow, which may have a dramatic effect on the market in general. One other thing to note for today, we have Coinbase releasing its earnings, which may heavily affect the crypto market and may be the reason why crypto is currently pushing into the green, because maybe some insiders have some type of information regarding the earnings of Coinbase. I don't know if their releases in the morning or in the pre-market or in aftermarket hours, but I will be tuned in to that earnings call to get the details of what is going down in Coinbase, which they are a major player in the crypto space. Other than that, I wanted to show you guys what happens to a stock or a company whenever they issue new shares to build funding or capital for building into a newer company. And this is AST SpaceMobile. They are dropped in the pre-market by about negative 7.90%, which is a big drop when it comes to any stock. But the reason that is because they just announced that they are issuing new shares of stock. So whenever a company is looking to gain capital and funding from public markets, they issue new shares. Sometimes there's other ways that they can go about it, but being a new company, this is how you do it. If you were with me in previous videos, you know that what was it? Joby Aviation did the same thing, but they had a more dramatic drop in price in that capital raise. But other than that, let's go ahead and get into the big news on the day. We are starting off with Kodiak AI, which is a autonomous trucking company that I added to my portfolio recently, but they just dropped some big news on a major contract with the U.S. Marine Corps for an autonomous ground vehicle. Let me go ahead and show you that. I like to bring proof to the information that I give. I may start adding the links in the description just for more details so you can read that information and confirm it, because I don't want you to just believe what I say. I want you to do your due diligence and get in the habit of that when it comes to investing. But this is a big deal. They worked with the military in their beginnings, I believe in around 2018, 2019, when they were in the beginning development of their AI product for long haulers, for trucks, for off-road vehicles, and things along those lines. So this is specifically built for the Expeditionary Fires, or unmanned coastal missile launcher, made for defense and strike capabilities. So it's going to be a missile launcher truck that's going to be autonomously driving to certain locations to protect things like the coastal line and to give sea denial. And it will be launching missiles like the Naval Strike Missile and the Tomahawk missile, which everybody knows about. But that is a solid move for Kodiak AI, which is a new autonomous vehicle company that nobody is talking about. But if you watch my video early this week describing some of the things that I gained from the conference that they were attending, it's a lot of good information. Solid company, solid build out, and we are going to see hopefully this company progress in the future. Also, Kathy Woods is an investor just recently, like a few days after I invested in her, but she just recently invested a couple 100,000 shares in this company also. So that may be a sign for you to maybe take a little bit of time to research them and get invested in them. Also, I did tune into Carmen Holdings, which is the deep space and deep sea company that I invested in early this year, that I found through exploring the arena of space, AST SpaceMobile, and stocks in comparison with it. But they provide actually hardware components for Blue Origin, that is Jeff Bezos's baby. But they attended TD Cowen Aerospace and Defense Conference, and they just basically described a little bit about their company, how they have developed themselves into, I guess you could say, the new Lockheed Martin of the defense industry, being able to attack not only deep space and space applications as far as exploration and defense, but also deep sea applications to exploit the ability to build out submarines and things along those lines. With their acquisition of Seaman Composites, I believe it's called, but a recent acquisition at the beginning of this year that they took of a marine focused company, but they're doing solid. And yeah, other than that, we have Royal Caribbean. They actually just announced that they're increasing their dividend, because we like checks. I don't know about you, but if I get multiple checks in a month and somebody says they're increasing my paycheck by 50%, I'm gonna be a happy person. But they just said that they are increasing their dividend payout to investors by 50%, which is solid. We love to hear things like that. We love more money that we can either reinvest or use in everyday life. Other than that, we have Uber announcing, let me see if I got that one up here. I do not. But Uber announcing that they are expanding their partnership with Baidu, a Chinese company, once again, but to provide autonomous vehicles in Dubai, which we discussed a little bit earlier this year. But that's just in line with the goal of Dubai to have 25% of their traffic dominated by autonomous vehicles by 2030. So that is solid. Now we get to the juice of the morning, which is talking about Porch Group. It was a penny stock when I first found it. It was around $3 or $4 when I found this stock. It was at like $8 or $9 when I sold out to restructure my portfolio last year. And then I bought back in at a higher price. So I'm a little negative right now, which is okay. I don't mind, because I see the profitability and I see a lot of the numbers lining up with what's coming in the future. And yeah, they are phenomenal. But Porch Group, still a small and mid-cap company, but it is making major moves. Now, what they initially did when they started in the early 2010s was they offered home services on a software platform. So they acquired different contractors, brought them onto a platform, and would provide that service to insurance agents to offer to those who are buying homes, who needed repairs on their homes, things along those lines. But in that, they decided to switch up their focus in 2021 and direct most of their attention towards building an insurance portion of Porch Group. So not only offering services and certain benefits whenever somebody signs up with them, like the benefit of getting a 4-hour allowance of movers, a mover concierge, and all those services bundled as far as home repairs, home inspectors, and things along those lines that just make buying a home and the packaging so much easier for the consumer or for the purchaser, because now they don't have to go find every single little detail or every single contractor individually. It's all grouped into one simple bundled package. But they beat on earnings yesterday by a mile. They beat on revenue by a mile. Solid performance in the quarter and in the year as total in 2025. They had an 81% margin. If you don't understand what margin is, that's basically how much room they have between profit and or how much room they have after costs. Profit and what it costs to run the business. That's the money that is made by the company, okay? And a 49% EBITDA. And when people say EBITDA, that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, which is the decrease in value in real objects or physical objects like land, cars, vehicles, things along those lines. But basically, that having any type of margin that big, it just makes room for a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth, a lot of reinvestment, a lot of company progress. So it's a big move. And the thing about these numbers is the fact that all this is happening during a season when the housing market is weak. So if this is happening now while the housing market is weak, then what's going to happen when the housing market gets out of this lull? Crazy world. But Porch Group, solid stock. One other thing to note, from last year, their EBITDA, which we just explained, increased 11-fold. That's 1100%. They only said 11-fold on the earnings call, but 1100% is wild. It is ridiculous. And actually, let's go over here and see if, let me see, presentation, so y'all can get an idea. So things like this, the presentation is available to any investor whenever they invest in most companies. All you have to do is go to the website, investor relations, and look these things up. But 11-fold increase on their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization is wild. 1100%. They never said that number. I have to emphasize that, but it's huge. They had an increased cash position. They did have a new form of the company where they had a reciprocal, which I'm not going to go into detail about that, but it basically protects and gives them a little bit more flexibility when it comes to their company dynamics. But other points that I'm going to run through now about this company or about the earnings call that they made sure to make clear. They're best for insurance agents. This is one of the reasons why they are becoming more popular, and their market share is growing, specifically in the Texas arena. And that is because they pay better than competitors when it comes to insurance being offered to those they sell their houses to. They're best for customers, making life easy, not having to search for all these individual contractors when it comes to purchasing a home, because that just brings a whole nother headache to the buyer of the house. They do have the full Porch insurance, home insurance, coming out. Oh, they also offer a full home warranty along with that bundled package as far as their general services. But they do have the full rollout of, or they did initiate the full rollout of Porch Home Insurance, which they have been designing and playgrounding over the past few years to mold into the way that they want it. But they did roll that out in January. And one thing to note, so this stock was raised very high. Let's go to a weekly time frame so you can see this a little bit better. But the price increased greatly up until around the time we had the government shutdown last year, and then it dropped heavily. It looks like an institutional investor or a couple really closed out of a position here and in these last few portions of the year. But in general, because of the reciprocal dynamic that they developed, they did not get affected by this pullback as far as profitability. It only discounted about $10 million in general profitability or cash position when it comes to the profit that they made on the year and the quarter more specifically. They are incorporating AI, which is a major point, but mainly for, it's called AI defect detector. Is mainly for home inspectors that they work with as the contractors within their bundled software packaging and contract services. One thing to note about how they developed this insurance portion is that through the development of the software that's typically bundled with their packages as far as taking care of the home inspections, things along those lines, home warranties. With that data, they are able to better quote and better acquire new customers onto the platform. And it's a unique way to offer insurance, but also protection and resources when it comes to the home. Not many companies do that in tandem. They are on track as far as their financial goals to be top 10 in their industry. Remember, they are still just a small and mid-cap company. And even though in Q3 they did change their guidance a bit, which is more than likely why this price decreased after their earnings last quarter, more than likely due to the housing market and how it's just heading into a downward spiral right now. They probably had a dim outlook of how they were going to be able to acquire the customers and profitability during last quarter, but surprised them and surprised the investors on how profitable they were in a season that's typically down. And I wanted to point one other thing out about this. So there are other major insurance companies out there like Progressive. I know everybody knows them. PRG. And what I want you to notice about this stock, and I mean it's similar in the insurance industry in general, but there's been a heavy pullback in major insurance players in the industry. WRB Berkeley, also an insurance player, I believe they spoke about this actually yesterday in a conference that they were at that I watched, but their stock is doing phenomenal. But back to Progressive. What the news in the insurance arena is that, a lot of insurances are struggling right now. And here's my theory. I believe that the insurance industry was heavily subsidized during the Biden era. And previous eras, just under the table. And this administration, after April, is when the insurance industry in general started to decline. You see, this April, that was the top, and then it just began to drop. So with that, the small and mid-cap companies have more opportunity and are in a better position to be profitable in this season because these major insurance companies were heavily subsidized by the government in more ways than we could probably find. And now it's hard for them to reach their margins and to become profitable. Just a theory I have. So I think that Porch Group, out of all the insurance companies that I do hold in my portfolio, is in prime position, unless somebody decides to drag it down after me mentioning it, but is in prime position to take advantage of this opportunity with the current administration and in the current environment. This is a bottoming of the market. And we also have to consider that the housing market is dropping. So that may be a bit of information to consider with this dropping more in major insurance companies. But in general, that's just my theory. A few other things. Let's talk Formula One. Now, I will show you guys some videos about GM, Cadillac's Formula One car, but more than likely they will get copyrighted. I think I did a short or something on YouTube about it recently, and it got copyrighted. So I was just like, just whatever. Maybe I'll show a picture. But the livery on that Formula One car for Cadillac is, I wear black. I love black and white. It's phenomenal. If you aren't into Formula One, you might be now because we have an American constructor Cadillac in there. But they're doing preseason trials right now in Bahrain, and the car looks good. There's a lot of talk about Cadillac, even though typically new companies aren't expected to do great. There's just an atmosphere of, I guess you could say, high expectations. There's a lot of people looking at Cadillac right now who have been seasoned in the Formula One industry that are taking notice. So we're going to see how, I believe their first race is in Melbourne, Australia. So we're going to see how preseason goes. I'm really getting more interested in this sport because the thing I like about it is they have to be specific in detail as far as designing the car. So every car is different, even though on TV they look the same if you're just generally coming into the sport. But every car has different details, different designs, different aerodynamics that makes it specific to the company, to the culture of the constructor. But I think that's very, very intricate. It's very, very detailed, and I like quality. Quality is important. And This is big. I'm going to a Formula race. I don't know when. Maybe this year, but we will see. But other than that, that fact about Cadillac may help GM continue its push up and its recovery from the pandemic. But we'll be watching the stock price and keeping up with the news as far as the Formula One is concerned when it comes to GM, just because of that. Other major news, I just wanted to put this out here at the end of this video, is that the Save America Act, a little bit of politics, Save America Act has passed the House of Representatives and is heading to the Senate. With this act, voter ID is required. You must be a citizen. You must be able to register for the right to vote in this country. Because what they have found is there's a lot of foreign agents dictating who and what is in power in our country. And just so you know, in the House, all the Democrats voted against having voter ID, even though polls, which are typically against Trump and the administration, noted that most 71% of Democrats want the Save America Act and want voter ID required for votes. 90-something% of Republicans and 70 or 80% of independents. So everybody is for this except for the Democrats, which is wild to me. Even your base is telling you that this is something that they agree to, and yet you're voting against it, which tells me there's something else behind what you're trying to do. Are you rigging elections? Are you being honest to the people? Even though politicians in general aren't honest, but yeah, they just want power. That's my theory. But other than that, guys, I believe that is all for today. Hope you have a great morning. We are prepped for the day. Let's take a quick look at the pre-market, see if anything changed. Nothing changed. Porch Group is still surging off that earnings report, which is phenomenal. We'll see if that changes after this video drops. It might. And yeah, hope you guys have a great Thursday. Friday should be interesting because of the CPI release, and we have Coinbase earnings today, which will be major, and I'll be reporting on that probably tomorrow morning, and any other major earnings that are happening in the portfolio or in the market. But other than that, guys, stock the future. You never know, in 5 years time your life could change. You could be living your dream, firing your boss, building the career or pursuing the career and the business that you have dreamed of, if you just invest your money in the market or in something. It doesn't have to be in the stock market. It could be in cars. It could be in watches. But find something that builds value. Find an asset. Use that to propel and to be the foundation of your financial future, so you can have that freedom, have that optionality. That is the key. That's what we're building. Yeah, don't forget to stock the future, and I will talk with you guys tomorrow. Peace.